Hey everyone. Thanks for joining us for the next session of our Ask the Expert Fabric Edition series. My name is Anna. I'll be your producer for this session. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to review our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on this Reactor channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our presenters for today. Thank you all so much for joining.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. Hi, everyone, and welcome. So thank you for joining us for today's Microsoft Fabric Data Engineering Ask Me Anything session. We're thrilled to have a diverse group of data professionals, engineers, architects from around the world here today. So my name is Joanne Wong, and I'm part of the product marketing team for Fabric. I'll be your host for this session. I'm joined here by my esteemed colleagues who are part of the Fabric product and engineering team. They're the folks who are building and shaping the analytics portfolio in Fabric. They're the subject matter experts, and so they'll be answering all your questions today. With that, I'm going to share the agenda. So we just did our quick intros. We'll spend another 5 to 10 minutes on a brief overview of Fabric Data Engineering, what it is, the key capabilities that like Spark-powered notebooks, environments, and how it integrates with the rest of Fabric. And then the remaining 45 minutes will be dedicated to your questions, so a true AMA. It's your chance to ask about the architecture, migration, performance tuning, cost optimization, and anything else that you're curious about. So with that, let's get started. And so before we dive into the Q&A, let's set the foundation. Microsoft Fabric unifies the full spectrum of data analytics into a single SaaS platform. So much like Office 365, which unifies productivity apps, Fabric brings together the key workloads needed to work with data. For example, Data Factory simplifies integration, connecting and transforming data from across the cloud and on-premises sources. Databases power modern, intelligent applications with built-in speed and simplicity. Real-time intelligence delivers instant insights and automated responses to streaming data. And Power BI provides AI-driven visualization and analysis directly where business users are already work. And underpinning these workloads is the Fabric platform, which includes Copilot-powered experiences and is centered on OneLake, which is the single governing foundation that every workload relies on. So OneLake ensures that all data is clean, consistent, and AI ready. So the result is that this is more than just a collection of tools. Fabric is the unified data platform that enables organizations like your own to scale. For today's discussion, we'll dive into data engineering, which falls under the analytics workload. And that combines not only data engineering, but also data science and data warehousing for advanced modeling and analysis. And so what is Fabric Data Engineering exactly? So it's designed to empower organizations to manage, analyze data at scale. It includes a Lakehouse-centric architecture, which helps you unify all your organizational data into a single open, governed environment. We also provide a fully managed Spark experience that delivers leading price performance. This means you can run complex data transformations, analytics without worrying about infrastructure overhead. We also provide a first-class experience with AI-powered notebooks. These notebooks accelerate coding, debugging, data exploration, so it makes advanced analytics more accessible and efficient. And we are integrated into OneLake. All data is automatically stored in OneLake in an open format. that ensures interoperability and eliminates data silos. And last but not least, Fabric Data Engineering is deeply integrated with Fabric Data Agents for conversational AI experiences, and also the OneLake catalog for governance and discoverability. So that means your data is not only secure and compliant, but it's also easy to find and use. And we've seen tremendous growth since we've launched Fabric almost 2 years ago. So today we have over 15,000 organizations currently on Fabric Spark. Collectively, over 300,000 notebooks are created weekly. And for those who have used the Spark native execution engine, they've seen an incredible improvement, 47% improvement on performance. And next, I want to share a quick customer success story. Obos is Norway's leading residential construction and real estate cooperative. They serve millions of people through property management, digital services, et cetera. And earlier this year, they had migrated from Azure Synapse and standalone Power BI to Microsoft Fabric. So they were able to consolidate over 4,500 data objects into 87 lakehouses. And so with Fabric's Lakehouse architecture, managed Spark, OneLake, they were able to empower over 450 active users. These are engineers, analysts, business leaders to collaborate on a unified platform. And so this was great for them. And they also shared with us that they plan on expanding Fabric into other initiatives. So this proves how a modern data foundation can transform customer experiences. And I just wanted to flash a slide up. I won't drain the slide, but we made a number of exciting announcements recently at FabCon Europe. And so we've documented all of these in our Fabric blog. And so we invite you to learn more, and happy to answer any of your questions related to these announcements. So with that quick overview, let's get into what you came here for. So ask me anything. Please drop your questions in the chat and we'll tackle as many as we can live. And so we want to make sure that we're here to help you answer all your questions. So feel free to ask away. Okay, so I'm navigating to the page. Okay. I'll give folks a few minutes to ask your questions. Is there an MCP server available for Fabric? Who would like to answer that question?
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, from the Spark monitor and the diagnostic point of view, we are looking at the possibility to build MCP on top of the Spark server, so you can get all those insights and analysis from MCP. Yeah, short answer, yeah, it is in the consideration.
Yeah, on top of that, I would say that there's going to be a couple of different MCP servers for different parts of Fabric. With data agents, there's going to be some things coming pretty soon. We've also got things more on the kind of all up Fabric level. There's also some great open source things that have come from the team that you can find as well. I think we can maybe try grab some links if we can and share those directly in the chat. But yes, this is definitely very top of mind. And I think we've just actually announced a preview as well a couple of weeks ago, again, more for that end-to-end Fabric one. So I'll try and grab, if I can share the links directly, I will do that.
Okay, perfect. So next question from Jimmy. How do identity credentials management work when working with Fabric Pipeline and notebooks?
Yeah, so I think maybe I can take this one, and that's so there's a lot of work in progress. Some is already available, and some it's will land soon. So in terms of identity, as of now, the when the notebook is in pipeline, um, the notebook runs using a user identity, but soon, in the course of the next few months, the pipeline will be able. I mean, the user will be able to use like the service principal, and then also is we are planning to work on as well as the workspace identity, supporting running a notebook in pipeline using workspace identity. So these are work that are in close to be shipped.
Great, thanks, Piero. And this is a follow-up question from Jimmy. Does the owner of the pipeline notebook matter? Does it matter who clicks run? Is there a workspace identity to be set?
I mean, at the moment, as I mentioned, I think it's not supported yet, but it's in the plan. So, like the support for the workspace identity, it's planned, as a part of the pipeline.
Okay, great, thanks. And so the next question from Kalyana, apologies if I did not pronounce that correctly. Could you explain data agent versus Copilot in Fabric?
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one. So with regards to, you can think of data agents as being experts on top of your data, right? So it's really a consumption experience. You go and configure and customize and build a data agent. You can add all the different data sources, you can add instructions, you can add example questions, and then you can publish that through many channels. You can publish it directly in Fabric. You have an endpoint, so you can embed it into your own custom applications. You can add it to Copilot Studio, you can add it to Foundry, publish it through all their different channels, including things like Teams, M365. So it's really kind of building up an expert on your data, a virtual analyst on specific data domains that can be shared. Copilot is really more about the kind of Fabric Copilot experiences across the board. If you think of the Notebook Copilot, the Pipelines Copilot, is really about accelerating your productivity as a developer, right? So you want to be able to develop more quickly. You can ask Copilot to help you, and Copilot will help you write your notebook code. It'll help you build your Power BI reports, right? And so one of them is really more for developers, and one of them is developers building something that will be ultimately shared with consumers.
Okay, thanks, Justina. So next question from Irving. If I work with Spark and Delta Lake for data engineer and data science, what is the advantages? What are the advantages of Microsoft Fabric over Azure Databricks?
So I think from a advantages perspective, there's a couple of things that I would highlight. Firstly, Fabric is SaaS, right? So you have a SaaS platform that provides you everything end to end. You don't have to go and set up your clusters. You don't have to go and configure a bunch of infrastructure before you go and write your first line of code. So from a ease of getting started perspective, you can log into Fabric, you can go into your workspace, and you can go and create a notebook and just start writing code. We have things like starter pools that just come pre-wired with your workspace, which means you can get a Spark cluster set up within basically 10 seconds. The moment you open the notebook, you start writing code, you can start executing that code immediately. So it's a really, really quick accelerator for productivity. Having said that, if you are someone who cares about all the details of the configurations, you want to go and customize your clusters, you are a Spark expert, we cater for that audience too. Right, so we really kind of cater for audiences starting from very, very high-level citizen developers all the way to Spark experts, and they can all coexist and work together in the same platform. Similarly, from tooling perspective, you can go and write notebook code, you can have Copilot accelerated, you can have low-code experiences with things like Data Wrangler, all built in. And then we also have great connectivity end-to-end for the entire stack. So if you want to go and write some Spark code that will create tables that are then going to be consumed by Power BI. So if you use, let's say, Power BI for the reporting solutions, we do things like have view ordering that is supported, meaning you get really fast performance for your Power BI reports without needing to copy any data around, right? So you can basically just write the data with Spark. Power BI can automatically read it using direct lake mode. No data copies, no ETL, no import mode needed. And you just get amazing performance because all our engines talk to each other and know how to talk to each other really well. We've also done a ton of work on optimizing for price performance. So I would encourage you to run your own benchmarks, of course, so you can try it out for yourself. But what you'll find with our Spark engine is, we've done a ton of work on performance. We have support for things like the native execution engine, which is basically our C++ native engine, which accelerates performance massively, something like 6x over what we see in open source Spark. And it comes with no additional costs in Fabric, right? You pay for it exactly the same price as you do for your base Spark. We have things like materialized lake views, which are great for basically handling all the kind of dependencies. You have a declarative pipelines. Again, they come at no additional cost. So you pay basically one rate for Spark for no matter what you do, no matter what premium feature you use. You don't have to worry about thinking, okay, if I'm using Photon, well, in this case, native execution engine, right, with the equivalent of Photon, if I'm using materialized lake views, right, it's all coming at essentially the same cost end to end. So it really kind of simplifies your cost analysis, especially now that we have feature autoscale or serverless billing for Spark, as we officially call it, right, where you basically just pay for what you consume with Spark. So, I would encourage, again, you to run some benchmarks. And I think you'll find from a pricing perspective, you'll see some, pleasant results. And I don't know if anyone from the team wants to add anything else, but would love for others to chime in too.
Yeah, I think, so this is Chris Finland. I report into Christine. I'm the head of the data engineering team. I think that one of the things that Justina mentioned, the ability to get started quickly. So I joined Justina's team 4 years ago. And Justina and I used to work together in Power BI, and we joined this team. And I was not a Spark expert by any stretch of the imagination. And one of the things that I think Fabric does a really nice job of is it does make it very easy. And it's one of the things we focus on. It makes it very easy for somebody like me at the time to get started. And that was one of the goals. And we carried over a lot of the principles that we had started in Synapse to help with that onboarding journey. And it's actually very easy for me to now go get a notebook set up, attach it to a pool or a cluster in Databricks parlance. Go and create go get my code from Copilot if I'm not exactly sure what the Python code is I want to write, and then go ahead and run. Databricks, that's a much more challenging prospect for somebody like me. It was like somebody like me at the time. So I do think that if you're new to the space or if you're looking to get started, there's a much more gentle on-ramp. But as Justina mentioned, we've spent a lot of time to make sure it is a product that is of the highest quality that can compete against the Azure Databricks head-to-head. I mean, you'll have to evaluate for your own individual use cases, but I do think that for either scenario or either personality type, either a newbie or somebody who's much more advanced in the space, you'll find that there's a lot we can offer on the Fabric data engineering side.
I would also like to add, hi. So hi, my name is Daniel Coelho. So I've been, a lifelong big data person. Like I sit on the other end of the spectrum. I've started using Spark, even like as it was kind of growing up on the Hadoop times. And, we were also making sure that we can cater to the pro devs, to the real experienced kind of Spark users that sometimes come out of Databricks and expect some level of compatibility and behaviors. So we also cater the experience for when you are at that point, you can also configure our platform to behave just like it, right? You can go into the nitty-gritty, you can load your libraries, you can customize your compute. But I would say that one of the advantages is that as we are a SaaS experience that has the capability of doing the PaaS side, I think the visibility of predictability of cost is kind of way more interesting for us. So you give for people who are experimenting a full SaaS experience, and if you need control of your very controlled jobs, you can also have that. So I think that it also caters to the pro dev.
Yeah, my name is Jenny. Just add on that. From the Spark monitor and the debugging point of view, we do offer more tools compared to Databricks. We have a rich view about all those Spark executions. You can look in the resource utilization. You can look into the local snapshot. You can do the comparisons. And from the Spark user's point of view, we do have very elaborate and enhanced Spark server. So if you want troubleshooting, do performance tuning, we have a bunch of tools to support your needs. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So I want to jump down to a question from Fahad. I have two questions. One, I have a scheduled pipeline, which is supposed to run a notebook for data ingestion every day. It runs from one account, but not from a different one. What is the best way? So that's the first question. So maybe I'll toss it over to Piero. Piero, you're on
Maybe,
mute.
yeah. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself before. I work also with Justina and the rest of the team, and I work on notebook environment and VS Code extension and other related items. Yeah, so I think it's not super clear to me what's the question, because it looks like Fahad, it's running a notebook for data ingestion, and then it runs from one account, but not from a different one. So I'm not sure if he wants to run in parallel the two accounts. So I don't know if anybody else gets more details from the question, or maybe Fahad can chime in the chat again and ask more specifically what is if there is an issue, or if it's an a question for more details.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's kind of tied to the next question that he had, which is what's the best way to add surrogate keys in the silver layer? Is it better to use Python or SQL, or does it not matter?
Maybe I can take that question. This is Arshad. I'm part of data engineering team focused on Spark runtime primarily. So, like, if we talk about surrogate key, right? So when we look at the Spark architecture, there are three core layers, right? So Spark core, which provides all the core services. Then we have Catalyst Optimizer, which provides the optimization for the query that we are executing on Spark. And then on top of that, there are different modules which allows different developers to choose language based on their preference. And it could be PySpark, it could be Spark SQL, it could be Scala. Based on that, they'll write their program, and whatever language they choose, all of them goes through the same Catalyst Optimizer. So in terms of performance, it doesn't matter whether you are writing your code in PySpark or a Scala or even Spark SQL, because it all going through the same optimization process. So that is about difference between choosing a Spark SQL or Python in this case. In terms of maintaining a surrogate key pipeline, for now, the runtime that we have, runtime 1.3, it includes Delta Lake 3.2. In that, we do not have native support for identity column, which is required for building surrogate key pipeline. So in this case, like, you will have to kind of write a custom code to do it, which is very much possible. We can do it in 3.2. But what we are going to do, or actually we are already working on that, is the next version of the runtime, Fabric Runtime 2.0, and we are going to release experimental public preview by end of next month, which will include Delta Lake 4.0. And with that, you will get native support for identity column in that. So you don't have to go and use the custom solution to build surrogate key pipeline for your solution. So this is something coming up next month, by end of next month, in experimental public preview, followed by public preview in couple of months after that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Arshad. Okay, so I'm going to jump down to this question about CI/CD. So are you planning to expand the capabilities of CI/CD for Microsoft Fabric with more convenient methods for items deployment similar to Databricks assets bundle approach?
So I'll take that question. So I'm also kind of in charge of kind of the Lakehouse CI/CD experiences. So this is a broader question. It's more at the platform level. So the way we are structuring, so just understand that in Fabric, the deployment, the integration and the full deployment control happens across multiple items, right? It happens across multiple workloads as well. So when Fabric Deployment Pipelines builds itself, it needs to implement functionalities across, data warehouse, Lakehouse, data pipelines, notebooks, so on and so forth. So if you consider that the Fabric Deployment Pipeline solution would be the mapping towards Databricks asset bundles, right? But it's way more than that, because in the Databricks side, it just controls, the notebook configurations, the cluster configurations. We have to go way beyond that. As on the Lakehouse side, specifically for data engineering, we are expanding the capabilities considerably. We now support all shortcuts. We are just about to release, as part of the Git integration and the deployment pipelines integration, also support for data access roles, the capability of, filtering out specific object types. We're offering full public API definitions, so you can completely describe your Lakehouse as metadata. So I would say that we have been investing a lot into the CI/CD space. This happens not only at the data engineering side, it happens as well across the entire of Fabric. And I think you can find a mapping between what Databricks mentions as asset bundles to what we say that Fabric Deployment Pipeline is. And please follow up if you need additional details on that question, please.
Thanks, Daniel. All right, so we have a question from VJ. What are the best practices around Lakehouse semantic model?
So I can take this one. My name is Ted. I'm a product manager working on data engineering team. I'm predominantly focusing on the Lakehouse experience. So it's kind of related to semantic model. Semantic model can have multiple types. You can have import type or direct query mode. In Fabric, if you can use direct lake mode, that's the best practice and the fastest way to load large sizes of the data. Basically, the way it works, it accesses data directly stored on one lake. And in addition to that, if you are in a lakehouse and basically the data is stored in the lakehouse, which semantic model accesses it, you would go into the Lakehouse itself to the specific table which semantic model uses and run optimization there by turning on the order in order to speed up the reads. So that's the current best practice, basically, how we can tie semantic model to the Lakehouse and use it in the fastest way.
Okay, great. We have a question about VS Code extension. So I have two questions regarding VS Code extension for Fabric. One, is it possible to code in R? And two, can I use the custom environments with my packages from the VS Code environment?
Okay, so in terms of VS Code extension, so we have a data engineering VS Code extension, and in terms of running R, R is not supported. So we can use Spark and we can use Python. So that's the first question. In terms of custom environment, it depends on if this is referring to the Fabric environment. So the Fabric environment is fully supported. I'll paste the link about the documentation in the VS Code extension, and then it's possible to run packages, from within the environment, the Fabric environment.
Okay, great. So the next question from Shrishma, do we need any special license to make use of Copilot in Fabric, or does it come with Fabric by default? So I can start and others can chime in here. And so for Copilot in Fabric, we do require an F2 SKU, and you need to enable it within the interface. And the Copilot in Fabric is by workload, and so you need to be mindful of that. But there's aside from that, there's no special license. Does anybody else want to chime in here? Good. Okay, great. So the next question by Nalaka, is liquid clustering available in Microsoft Fabric data engineering space, and why is it not specifically mentioned in docs? Or is it something specific to Databricks Delta Lake implementation?
No, I can take that question. So liquid cluster. So in our Spark implementation is fully Delta Lake open source compatible. So as a principle, anything that you can see on the delta.io documentation, as long as it's the same Delta version that we have, that now is 3.2 and soon to go into 4.0. If that capability is there, it is available within our data engineering experiences in Spark. So as a principle, like if it is part of Delta, we have it. In our case, we also need to make sure that works not only in the Lakehouse in our Spark implementation, but that also works across Fabric, right? So when a Delta feature comes out, we need to, Spark is going to get it first because it's just readily available. And then we do need to make sure that, your T-SQL endpoint experiences work, your Power BI experience works. So, it is available. We don't mention in the docs because we take as a principle that we are open source compatible. But maybe we should call that out, and we're going to make a better job there.
Great. Next is a question from Ian. Are there any improvements to the Fabric Link integration between Microsoft Fabric and Microsoft Dataverse?
I think we're probably not the right team to comment on the link on the Fabric kind of shortcut integration. I know that there has been a ton of work put here, right? You can shortcut to all your Dataverse data. So Ian, if you have specifics you would like to see improvements for, we can pass that on to the team that works on the capability and kind of give them that feedback. But unless someone else on the call knows, I am not aware of anything we're doing specifically for this work.
Yeah, the only thing which I'm aware of it, the Dataverse team themselves, they are building integrations with Fabric, so it's not coming from Fabric side, but from Databricks. And basically, you are able to create Dataverse mirrored database on Fabric side, and also use kind of shortcut capabilities from Dataverse side into the Fabric, so not pointing for Fabric there. So you could explore that because that has some different functionalities than Fabric Link. But yeah, Justina said it's a slightly different team which works on that.
Okay, great. So a question from Martin regarding startup pools. Currently, these are sized as medium. For my use cases, this is oversized, but when I change it to small, cluster startup time increases significantly. Any plans to change?
So I can take this one. No, there aren't plans right now to make that change. Startup pools, because we're absorbing the cost there of having those available across 40 some regions across the world. Having different size machines available greatly increases our cost. However, we are going to be looking to introduce something called custom live pools, where you can choose to have any image size with whatever customizations you want hosted and available. And so it would work like a startup pool in your environment. That's coming out in the coming next few months, ideally. I think the one change there, obviously, is you have a lot of control over that, but also you would be paying for the uptime of that while it's sitting there idle waiting for somebody to use it. So.
And a question from Altito7, is it possible to create something like a data mesh architecture on Fabric?
I would say yes, right? I think a data mesh architecture lends itself very well to Fabric. With Fabric, you have a lot of separation with things like workspaces. You can create domains for specific areas like, let's say, HR or sales or marketing, and you can essentially publish data products, right? You can have data products that are specific to whatever problem you're trying to solve. You can be as granular with them as you want. And then we have a whole discovery process where you can then discover that data, and without doing any data duplication, you can build reports on top of it. You can do data science on top of it. You can go and do real-time intelligence on top of it. You can build data agents on top of that. Everything gets tracked from a lineage perspective, so you can kind of see the downstream artifacts as the data owner of everything that gets created. And there's a lot of separation in terms of workspace permissions, in terms of domain permissions, in terms of data permissions with one security. So you can really secure your data products and then share them, govern them, endorse them, certify them, apply sensitivity labels on them, and then open them up for consumption in a whole variety of different ways without needing to move the data around. So I would say, when Fabric was being built, it was very much in mind with how do we make this work really well for this kind of data mesh architecture.
Okay, and then a follow-up question from Martin. Currently takes a long time from release of new OSS Spark versions until it's available in Fabric. Any plans to speed this up?
Yeah, maybe I can take it. We actually have done good work in releasing or reducing this time to bring this new runtime. What we are doing, or what we are currently focusing on, is kind of releasing experimental public preview in 3 to 4 months once a stable release of a Spark is available. That way, customers can start testing their workload on this newer version of a Spark quickly, and then in 6 months we plan to kind of roll out a public preview and then followed by GA. So this has been a good progress so far, but we are not done yet. We still are looking for opportunity to kind of reduce this further or speed the time to bring up the new runtime sooner. The time it takes is because it's not just open source Spark. When we have a runtime, Spark is, of course, the bigger component, but it includes Delta Lake, another bigger component. And it includes hundreds of different other components from data science community, the libraries that we have from data science community, the connectors that we have to connect to different data sources, and bringing them together, making sure they all work in the runtime and they all have compatibility takes time. And that is why we kind of are not as quick as when the OSS version is released. We release the runtime and it takes some time. But yes, we are looking forward again for how we can reduce the timeline that we have to kind of speed up the runtime release sooner.
Great. So 19 Ricky B has a follow-up question about his question about R. So some of my team's analysts work in R Studio to write R scripts. Will they be able to access data from our Fabric Lakehouse?
Well, I think I just quickly want to mention, I mean, probably it's clear that, currently we are not supporting R Studio as an IDE, but I'm not sure if it's possible to connect. I'll leave to others.
We do support Spark R today, right? With
Right,
the current runtime.
That's right.
I'm not sure what will happen with future runtimes, because and keep me honest, team, I believe R is getting deprecated in the new Spark runtimes, and we are keeping our compatibility with open source Spark, right? So if things are not supported in new runtimes, we will not support them. We're not doing anything special to just support vanilla R like we have with vanilla Python. So just be mindful of that. You can write scripts today, but it really depends on the path that Spark is going to take over here.
Great. So we have a question from Amit. How are we able to use service principles run as for moving dev to test to prod in Fabric deployment pipeline?
Yeah, and actually, this is more like a question actually again for the platform that they are supporting the deployment pipeline. So I'm not sure. I think I'm not sure if I am able to answer. So I don't know if anybody else.
my understanding is, Jenny, it's not currently supported yet, but it's on the roadmap. Yeah, that is my understanding.
Okay, great. So Vijay had a question: Are RLS and CLS features available in Fabric?
So I'll take this one. A few weeks back, we officially announced public preview of OneLake Security, which basically now goes into a more granular level, and you're able to set the policies at the data level for rows and columns. So you can go into Lakehouse, into SQL endpoint, and set your policies. We support Lakehouse at the moment, and also mirror DBs. And any engine which will be accessing that data, whether it would be Spark or whether it would be other engines, they will basically follow those rules. So you will be able to grant access for particular users to access just certain rows or certain columns. So in short, yes, we do support that.
Great. Thanks, Ted. All right, so the question from Barish, I am a very new data engineer. My question is, should I go in a conventional way to learn PySpark, Databricks, Synapse, et cetera, or should I directly jump into Microsoft Fabric?
I would say that if you're new to data engineering, Fabric would actually be a great place to start with data engineering and Spark. As kind of mentioned at the beginning, right, there's a very little friction to getting started. You can go in, create a workspace, which is just like creating basically a folder in your, let's say, Windows Explorer, right? It's that level of complexity, adding a notebook, and you can just start writing code. You don't have to get asked any questions about Spark configurations or clusters, sizes, or anything like that. And you can just get started and start working. We have a lot of documentation, we have tutorials, we have best practices that are published, samples, which you can get started with really easily. And everything gets very nicely wired together, right? So you don't have to worry about setting up a storage account. It's automatically going to be stored in OneLake. OneLake is just like OneDrive for your data, right? So if you know how basically saving a PowerPoint into OneDrive, how that happens automatically, that's how easy it is to save your data. You get automatic code snippets, right? You've got Copilot built in. You can drag and drop your files from the Lakehouse and automatically get code snippets that read that data. So you have low-code data wrangler tools that actually let you do specify your transformations in natural language or in drag and drop, and then those get translated into code. So there's a lot of helper steps along the way. And I think it's a really nice way to ease yourself into the data engineering world and go as deep as you feel comfortable, as deep as you want, and expand out to whichever technologies you feel like, whether it's just Spark, whether it's real-time, whether it's Power BI, whether it's pipelines. You have a lot of capabilities you can go horizontally across as well. So definitely encourage you to give it a try.
Yeah, I was going to answer, you should start with Databricks just to see Justina's reaction. So she jumped in before. Of course, we're going to tell you to start with that.
Joking, just to make it very clear.
Yeah, Chris is the comedian of the group. So
Justina would disagree that I'm very funny. Anyway, sorry. Come on, you're supposed to smile on here. Like very. Anyway.
So tied into the getting started question, there's a question from Aaron. So I work for a small business where everyone has an M365 license that comes with Power BI. What is a good way to get Fabric in the door when cost is a concern from management?
I mean, I would say that the trial program with Fabric is quite generous, where you can go and spin up the capacity. Any user organization, depending on the type of company you have, can go and spin up an F64 or F4, depending on your organization's certain things with your organization, and start using the capabilities. You also have the ability, obviously, to go directly into Azure, spin up a capacity, and pause it when you're not using it. You can start very small with an F2. That's very cost effective. With Spark specifically, you can use Spark Autoscale Billing, where the billing works exactly like it did in Synapse or it did in Databricks, where you're charged only for what you use. So again, if your Spark jobs aren't running, you're not charged anything. And so there are a number of different ways to make this cost effective. I definitely would go down the trial route first and check out all the capabilities there. One thing with trials though is Copilot is not currently available in the trial experience, so just keep that in mind.
And to add to that, I would say, you can start at a pretty low entry point with Fabric, right? Even let's say after the trial, the F2 I think is like $100 and something a month, and then you can also turn it on and off, right? Or you can just use feature or serverless billing for Spark if you're just using Spark, and you literally just pay for what you use at that point. So you could be leveraging Fabric for probably less than $100 a month as well if you start from the lowest kind of entry point.
Okay, great. So we have a question about Azure Key Vault. So from Tuan, apparently Fabric can only access to Azure Key Vault via public network. Do we have a plan to allow it access via private endpoint or put it in a trust Azure service?
I can take that. No, it is available. So in Fabric, every workspace admin could go ahead and create a managed private endpoint. So if a Key Vault or any other resource is behind a firewall or like restricted network, they should be able to access it. We are also working on allow listing Fabric as a trusted service for similar to like a trusted access using the Fabric workspace identity, but that's coming in the upcoming months. But you should already be able to support use the managed private endpoint. It's been generally available for over a year and a half.
So everyone, this is Santosh from my team. He's supposed to be in Hawaii right now on vacation, but he joined this call. And there was a question earlier about the MCP server. Santosh actually published an open source MCP server for Fabric that I think we provide a link to. If we didn't, we'll do so. But make sure you check that out. He spent a lot of time there and gotten a lot of great feedback from the community. So just wanted to let you know who this was, since I specifically didn't include him in the slide of people in here because he said he was going to be in Hawaii. So.
Perfect. Thanks, Santosh. All right, so there's a question about agents and RAG. Are you planning to expand the capabilities of Microsoft Fabric with hosting of custom user AI agents? For example, creating RAG systems and sharing it by endpoints?
So I would say specifically for RAG, I would say wait until Ignite. We might have some announcements for some things there. So can't disclose anything right now, but stay tuned. I think we'll have some things coming up that within the spirit that should be a good fit.
Okay, great. So there's a question from Sentient Tractor. Any plans to make notebook utils available in regular Python notebook and user data functions?
Okay, in terms of regular Python notebook, not the Spark, like the vanilla Python. So the notebook utils is already supported there. So there might be some specific feature that are not covered, but there should be an exception. So I'm curious to know what specific Santier you have. Maybe you can add to the chat. In terms of user data functions, I'm not 100% sure about that. So yeah, but for Python notebook, that should be supported.
Yeah, for the user data function, if you are referring to the Fabric user data function, the notebook utils is not supported right now. If you can share with us the scenario why you want to use notebook utils within the user data function, yeah, we can evaluate. Yeah, feel free to pass more details why you need that functionality. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. A question from Abhishek. Does Fabric have computes similar to Databricks serverless cluster with Photon acceleration?
I can take that. Yes. So I think Justin and Chris already mentioned about starter pools, which are like completely managed instances, which are warm clusters where you get a session start within like 2 to 5 seconds. So those are already available. Those are managed. Those are automatically sized based on your capacity. or your max CU limits that you set at the capacity level. And in terms of the photon acceleration, Fabric does have the native execution engine, which is built on top of Velox and Gluten, open source libraries from Intel and Meta. So this has been generally available for over 6 months now. So you should be able to use all the operations, run basically all the operators that are available in Photon in scenarios where there are formats where native execution engine doesn't support. It gracefully runs on the Spark JVM, so it doesn't result in any error. So you should not have any blockers in trying this. So do feel free to reach out if you have any issues in testing these scenarios.
Okay, great. So we have about 9 minutes left. I do want to leave time for resources, but I'll end the AMA section with a question about for anyone to answer. But the question is less specific, less technical. But how do you see Fabric changing the future role of data engineers?
I can start and would love for others to chime in as well, because I'm sure everyone will have their own interpretation here. I think for me, with Fabric data engineering, firstly, it lowers the barrier to entry, right? So I think we will have more people who data engineering becomes more accessible to. I think we can have the data engineers help elevate the data engineers to be more of the rock stars of the organization, because the data that they produce can now become easily accessible to all the users of the organization, right? There's no data duplication. You have instant access, whether you're a data scientist building a machine learning model, whether you're a Power BI data analyst building a report, whether you are a AI person, AI analyst building a data agent, whether you want to consume the data from Excel, from PowerPoint, from Teams, right? That data just is instantly accessible everywhere. So I think the data engineer just becomes a lot more critical and a lot more, I would say, varied in terms of the role, in terms of who are all the personas they can provide the data for. So I think there's a democratization aspect here as well. I think Fabric itself will also help data engineers move more into autonomous data engineering, right? That is an important area that we are starting to invest more and more in, where data engineers basically start managing AI systems that do data engineers, which frees up their time to do really the most critical, important work versus the mundane work, which can be offloaded to AI, right? So I think over time, that's going to be more and more of how data engineers will be able to do data engineering with Fabric. But yeah, would love for others to chime in if others have some thoughts here too.
Yeah, I mean, to just follow on to Justina's point, circling back to my own experience, I do think that the combination of Fabric plus AI really makes a huge difference in terms of what the data engineering persona can be. The entry point used to be really, really high for some of these things. I mean, even think about the Power BI journey, right? Like triangular and DAX and doing all the modeling pieces there. And especially with Spark, you can, yes, there is Copilot, but you can also use things like ChatGPT to go and help you generate Python scripts or debug errors and things like that. And I've really been able to go and become far more effective there. And I think to build on the idea around the agentic AI approach, it'll evolve very quickly from, hey, I'm doing this and I'm asking AI to help me, troubleshoot or put together code around this, to I'm managing a team of agents that are all going and doing these things as data engineers that report into me, while I'm managing them, while also freeing up my time to go and do other things in the product. And with all the different items that are in Fabric, it's very easy to go and shift. And it's like, oh, I need to use Custo, or I need to, I need to use pipelines for this, or I need to use a data warehouse product. I think that there is a lot of value there for somebody who, they may be new to the ecosystem entirely, or they're somebody who's very steeped in Power BI. Taking that next step is just a far lower entry point and barrier from both from a cost perspective and, just having it readily available in a product that your company's already adopted.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Justina and Chris, for sharing your thoughts on the vision of the future of data engineering. And so I have just a quick few slides to go through resources. And I know we've talked a lot about links throughout the session. And so we did share the blog about MCP server, and we could share it again. Then we mentioned earlier, there's documentation. There's not a lack of resources online. We have tutorials. You can view our roadmap, a public roadmap online, and feel free to share your ideas. We have a very robust Fabric community forum where you can share any of your thoughts and ideas for how to improve our product. And then last but not least, you're excited to learn more. We have Fabric Data Days. This is a global series of free community-led technical events where you get hands-on with Fabric workloads, hear from experts, connect with peers. You see here the link here, aka.ms/Fabric Data Days. You can find more, register. It's a fantastic way to deepen your skills, get inspired by what others are building with Fabric. And so with that, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the panel of experts for sharing your thoughts and expertise with everyone. I think we went through most questions, but not all due to time. But so thank you so much, and can't wait to see you all in the next session.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. And we'll see you at the next one.